This idea that people who we've lost stay with us and come back and give us signs that they're with us. And some people don't believe in that. I tend to believe in that. I've seen it firsthand, and you've shared plenty of stories with me.
Oh, it's real.
About many times where Ryan has come back and sent you messages. What was the first time that you noticed that? What was that first experience?
Well, it started with electronics. So, for example, it was maybe a day. Well, actually, the very first day. The very first day, I didn't witness it, but we were at a lake house. It was a boating accident. And I was inside the house with the rescue workers talking. And my son, who was 9, and my nephew, who was 13, and my mother-in-law were out on the balcony looking out at the lake talking. And they started screaming for me to come out. And they said they saw the name Ryan in the wake of the lake. And I was open to it, but I was in shock, and I was just like, wow, really? And they're like, all of them insisting. It was there. It was perfect. It was in big capital letters. It said Ryan. So that was the first thing. And then I had some other people saying things that were happening to them. And maybe, I don't know, 3-4 days later, I'm sitting at the counter at my house, and all of a sudden his racing game is on my phone, which is next to me, but a couple feet away. And I'm thinking, did I hit that? Did I hit the screen and somehow that came on? So there was a few incidences like that before my skeptical mind was like, no, it couldn't be. It couldn't be. But then after so much, I started thinking, okay, I feel like this has got to be real. And then they just kept getting bigger and crazier.
And then that sort of pushed you down a path of spirituality and kind of, I don't know, I guess spirituality is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it did. I just was like searching for the meaning in everything and how the universe worked, which of course we're never fully going to have the answers to that, or at least not while we're here on Earth.
Yeah.
But actually something had happened before that opened me up. About a week and a half before Ryan died, I was at work. I worked in, as you know, a corporate environment. I had just finished a very intense project at work, and we were moving on to a merger with our competitor. And I was going to be on that project, and this vacation was planned. And I was on my way to work, and I was stopped at a stoplight, and all of a sudden I heard a voice in my head say, "Pain is coming." And it brought me back to another memory before a challenging time in my life where I had that voice that I honestly didn't give a lot of thought to at the time. I was always open to spirituality, but I really had no exposure other than to, conservative Christianity. And I feel like I was completely out of that loop. And that day, when I had that voice in my head, there was no emotion with it at first, but the doom feeling just increased throughout the day to the point where I quit my job that day after 17 years. And
wow.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I never told you that story. So
no,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I quit my job, and my boss was like, "Look, I'm not accepting your resignation. You just got off this very intense project. You've been under a lot of stress. You're going on vacation next week. We can talk about it when you get back."
And this was before the lake house.
This was before the accident.
Yeah.
So I went home that night, and I told my husband that I quit my job, and he looked at me like, have you lost your mind? How are we going to pay the mortgage? And just came out of my mouth, something bad is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I don't know how I know. I just know. And I didn't really think about the next 2 weeks earlier in the day. It just came out. It didn't come from me almost, it felt like. During the day when I was trying to think about why am I having this sense of doom, I thought maybe I was going to have a stroke or something because I was having a lot of bouts with high blood pressure. So I thought maybe that's what it is. And I just had this really strong sense that I have to be with the kids. I have to spend time with the kids. They're 7 and 9. I'm spending too much time at work. It was just this very intense feeling. Told my husband that when I got home. And then the rest of the time, we just got started, getting ready to go on vacation. I kind of let it go. And it wasn't thinking about it anymore. And then when we got in the car after the accident to go home, we had a 12-hour drive back to Florida. My husband reminded me that my son, Ryan, had said right around the same time, just out of nowhere, we're in the kitchen cleaning up after dinner or something, and he says, "I want to go to heaven." And I'm like, what do you mean you want to go to heaven? Where are you getting that from? And he's like, oh, I hear it's really great there. And we're like, where are you hearing this from? He's like, I don't know. Just heard it was really great there. And it was just really strange. And then my husband also confessed at the same time that the accident happened on July 17th. On July 4th, my mother was with us in the car on the way home, my mother-in-law, excuse me. And he said to his mom while we were driving, after we were talking about this stuff, do you remember what I told you on July 4th? He was having dreams that he now refers to as premonitions. He was waking up and Ryan was dead. So we all had warnings before. So that was a lot of why I think I went down this path, because I was like, we knew there's more to this. There's more that's going on here. We're just not randomly here on this planet.
What's your explanation, or who do you think the voice was that said pain is coming?
I don't know if it was, God, a guide, maybe my higher self. I kind of feel like maybe it was like another aspect of myself, my soul. Mm-hmm. Now that I've kind of delved into this and talked to some friends that are mediums and whatnot, it was probably my higher self that knew, because now I believe that we, that we're eternal, and that maybe we're planning, some aspect of us is kind of planning some of the key fated moments in our life to learn, to have experiences, and to learn and to grow and love here on Earth in this 3D world. That's what I've come to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like this is like, part of universe school.
Yep.
And this is just one of the classes.
That's what I feel like. And when you look back on your life, and I think anyone can look back on their life and see how, like the tapestry, how all these different things came together, and how we often think something, bad happened, and then we look back on it and we realize that it was a good thing that it happened. And I'm not suggesting, I'm not talking about this.
Yeah.
But you can see how things fit together after the fact.